So I figured I'd make a video about my short time as a CCA for USPS. I got hired in September of 2020, applied in May, so it took a couple of months for me to actually go to orientation, do the LLV training, everything like that. I did this for a few months, and it wasn't bad at first. I actually enjoyed it once I got the hang of the work and learned the routes at my station and everything like that. It really wasn't that bad. I didn't mind working, you know, 12 hours a day, even though it is close to Christmas time. It still really wasn't that bad. The fact that I never got a day off was kind of hard sometimes, especially the closer it got to this time of year, peak season with Christmas and Amazon packages and everything like that. But I resigned yesterday from my CCA position, and I'll kind of give you a hint as to why. The job itself, the work, I didn't really find was all that difficult or hard. If you're an organized person, the work itself is not that bad, but the amount of the work and the fact that you never get time off and never get a day or get to use your vacation time you build up or anything like that is pretty hard. I understand now fully why the CCA's turnover rate is almost 70% across the whole country. Like I said, I liked the station I was first put at. It wasn't bad. The routes weren't all that bad. Some of the streets were kind of long. But I got transferred to a different station on a very bad side of town where I live. And I'd worked that station before to help out on Amazon days and filled in whenever they needed help. So I was kind of familiar with the area and some of the routes that were at that station. I was put there about 2 weeks ago from today. It's the 12th of December 2020. I was stuck over on that station. Yeah, it was about 2 weeks ago. I was given about a day's notice, said, hey, show up at 6 a.m. at this station. I won't name which one, because I've actually filed an IG report recently, and I don't want to mess with anything with that. But that's later to the story. I was put at this station. I had been there before. I hadn't done all the routes. I'd only done 3 or 4 at this station over the last couple of months. And I went to this station, and the management and supervision at this station was terrible. The opening supervisor, or the morning supervisor, whichever you want to call him, was a very arrogant prick. We'll just say that. I came in every day. I never was late. And as soon as I came in, they basically just were like, hey, grab these parcels and get out. Get out of there as soon as you can. Get this stuff done, and, call me if you have any problems. Well, if I ever did have a problem and I called, I usually never got a response. A lot of the times, they wouldn't even call me back or send me a text message or anything like that if I had any sort of issue. So calling them with any sort of problems was, kind of just useless. I learned that pretty quick within the first day or so of being there. I resigned yesterday on the 11th of December 2020. And here's kind of the story behind that. That's kind of the purpose of making this video. I went out on a route on a very bad side of town, a side of town that I knew was bad and that I've never really had a whole lot of experience with, except for working the station. I just had always known that it was not a good part of town to be in. I was on this route, and I had done my loop. I had one loop left for the route. This was the second to last street on the whole route. Granted, at this point, I'd been working I was on the clock for 13 hours, and it was probably my, I don't know, 14th, 15th, 16th. I don't even know how many days in a row I'd been working. And of those days, every other day was over 12 hours. So I got to the second to last street on this route, and I delivered all the mail, did all the loop, and I had one big package that was on my van, which was a rental van, which wasn't even marked as a mail truck or anything like that. It was just a maroon Dodge Caravan with no mail symbology or anything like that on it at all. And so I finished it. It's dark at this point. The sun had just finally gone down and everything, all the street lights had come on, and it was dark outside. So I was parked at the intersection at the beginning of the street. So I finished all the mail on my whole loop, went back to my LLV, or the van, and drove down to the end of the street, which to deliver this package to this house, which also happened to be right in front of the intersection of another house, or of another street. And this street, the night before, I had heard gunfire on. Like I said, it was a bad part of town. It's known for being full of drug activity, criminals and prostitutes and, gang-related stuff and things like that. It's a pretty well-known area to stay away from. And the night before, I was on the same route. I heard gunfire. It was further down the street. I saw the cops come flying down the street with their lights and their sirens blazing. But last night, was different. I heard the gunfire, and this time it was a lot closer. I spent 12 years in the military. I like firearms as kind of a recreational deal. I'm familiar with them. I can tell when gunfire is close and when it's further away. And when I heard this gunfire, it sounded like it was maybe, I don't know, 50, 100 yards away. Not far for a bullet to travel. 100 yards is nothing for, a bullet. And so I just dropped this package off and scanned it and stood up. The moment I stood up and turned around to go back to the van to drive off and go do my next loop, gunfire started. And it wasn't just one or two shots. I mean, it was a solid 15, 16 rounds of ammo going off. I mean, it was just constant pow, 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 pow. And so as soon as I heard it, I jumped behind the front end of the van, behind the engine block, and I sat there. And the whole time I was thinking, I need my gun, because as a postal employee, you're not allowed to carry a weapon while you're on you. I had some dog mace and a flashlight. That's about all I had. And I was by myself. And I sat there and I waited for the gunfire to stop. And then I crawled in through the passenger side of the van and jumped in the driver's seat, cut the wheel as far left as I could, and punched the gas and got off that street. U-turned. I hit the curb. I'm honestly shocked I didn't bust a tire on that van, and got off that street as quick as I could. I actually ran a red light, or not a red light, but a stop sign on the way off this street, because, like I said, there's bullets, and the bullets were I could actually hear them cut through the air and hit the house right next to me. And as soon as I got up to the street, or the main street that led into downtown, I pulled over and I called my supervisor at the station, and I informed him, hey, I'm not finishing this route because there's an active gunfight going on this street, and it's the street that I'm supposed to do my next loop on. So I'm going to come back to the station because I don't feel safe. Well, I was told by the supervisor on the phone, who I will not name because I've already filed an IG complaint, but I was told by him to stay on the street and scan the packages as no access. Don't come back to the station and scan them no access. No, stay on the street where there's an active gunfight going on and scan the packages no access. I was floored when he told me this. The very first question he asked me when I told him I'm not finishing this route and there's about 5 or 6 packages left on this van, his very first words out of his mouth, how many packages you got left? Not, are you okay? Not, hey, get off that street and head on back to the station. It's all right. We'll get it tomorrow. Tomorrow's another day. No, none of that. No concern at all for my safety. It was, how many packages you got left? I didn't know what to say when he asked me that question. I kind of was floored. I told him, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6. I'm coming back to the station. We'll do them tomorrow. So I came back to the station, and that supervisor, who I will not name, was there. He was hanging out at his computer, like he usually always is when I come back to the station, or sitting there playing on his cell phone. He didn't say a word to me other than, oh, hey, how's it going? This is all he said to me. So I took the mail that was left over, put it back on the case, and I went over to the time clock, or put my scanner up, put my arrow keys up, and I went over to the time clock, and I clocked out. And then I looked at him and I said, hey, I quit. And I walked out the door. About 5 minutes later, as I'm driving home, I start getting text messages from the supervisor with question marks. That's all it was, just 2 question marks. And I sent him a text message back with a reply saying, I'm done. I quit. I'm not doing this job anymore. I'm out here dodging bullets. And your first question to me is, how many packages you got left? When I call and tell you that there's bullets hitting 25 feet away from where I'm standing? That's your first response, is how many packages you got left? And he sends me another message, which I also have the screenshots of if anyone wants to see them. Well, it's hectic here at the office trying to get carriers cleared and mail dispatched. I wanted to ask you about what happened, but you just left. Dude, I was standing right in front of you for 5 minutes while I was putting my mail away and resorting everything. You didn't seem at all concerned whatsoever about any of it, because it was just me and you in the office. There was no one else around, and you didn't say a word to me about it the whole time I was standing there. That's all you did. You said, hey. That was it. Didn't ask how my night was. Didn't bother to ask about the situation I had just, gotten myself out of a few minutes before. You just basically said, hey. That was it. Like it was no big deal that I just had bullets flying past me on this street. So I quit. And I will tell anyone who wants to or is considering being a CCA or an RCA for the United States Postal Service, I'm just going to tell you right now, they don't give a shit about you. I mean, I'm proof of that. They don't care about you. They care about their mail getting out and their packages being scanned. They don't care if you get shot out there on that street. It don't matter. I mean, this is a known problem area. There's gunfire and shootings that happen over there all the time. And when you tell them, hey, I don't feel safe, they basically just give you the finger. They say, hey, not a big deal. How many you got left? How many are we going to miss? I need to know so I can go tell the postmaster. Oh, man, we missed these packages the other night. They don't care. They don't care about your life, about you getting shot in dangerous neighborhoods out there. They don't care about you at all. So if you're considering being a CCA or an RCA for the United States Postal Service, I'm going to tell you this. Go work for UPS. Go work for FedEx. Go work for DHL, any of the other shipping companies. Do not work for these people because they don't give a shit about you. And it's pretty obvious that they don't care about you. They'll work you 14, 15 hours a day, even though the union contract says they're only really allowed to work you 12. And that union contract really doesn't apply to CCAs. They don't care about it. The union really only cares about regulars and career employees. They don't care about CCAs and PSEs or anyone else that are non-career yet. They don't care about them. They'll let the union will basically let management just walk all over you. They won't protect you, even though you pay them money every month out of your paycheck. They won't do a thing for you. They won't lift a finger to help you unless, you basically probably bribed them to do so. Unless you probably gave them money to be like, hey, take my grievance and, file this. They don't care. The union doesn't give a shit about you. Management definitely doesn't give a shit about you. So if you're considering working for USPS, I'm going to tell you this. Don't. Because I could have been out there and gotten hit by a stray bullet on a drive-by shooting in a really bad neighborhood. Like I said, there were bullets hitting 20, 25 feet away on the houses. While I hid behind this van, I heard and saw the fucking dust from these rounds hitting the brick on this house. And it shook me up. I'll admit, it scared me. As it would probably scare any other sane thinking person about it. But for me to call my supervisor and tell them this, and their first response is how many packages you got left, with zero concern for my safety, and then telling me to stay on that street and scan the packages, no access, after I've just told them there's gunfire and there's probably some sort of gang turf war, some shit going on the street, and they tell me to stay on it and scan them packages, I'm going to say it's time to go somewhere else. I know work's hard to find right now, but being a CCA, it's not worth your life. It's not worth it at all. It's not. They don't care about you. I could have been shot, bleeding out on the street out there. Wouldn't have mattered to them. They just sent some other CCA out there to pull them packages off my van while I was sitting there in a body bag if I'd been hit by a bullet and gone and delivered them packages. Don't matter to them. So I'll say it again. If you're considering working for the United States Postal Service, go work somewhere else, because you'll probably be treated a little bit better than what I was treated the 3 months that I was there. I just wanted to get this out there, let anyone know who was considering this position. Don't do it. It's not worth the money. Sounds good, the money they pay and the pay they're offering, but it's not good. It's not worth it. Bye.